Welcome everybody, it's Debbie O'Neill of Quick Designs, and today I had a question from somebody and they wanted to know, they want to make some wall art using those white canvases that you can get at the craft supply stores, and they weren't sure how do you size your image to be able to fit on the canvas. So I'm going to show you that quick tip that I have right now, and then we're going to cut out our material out of iron-on, everyday Cricut iron-on, and I'm going to show you how you can use iron-on on your canvas because it gives it a really cool effect and it looks really great and it's going to stay permanent and it's super easy to do. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I want to show you is I am in Design Space, and down on the left hand menu you have something called Shapes, okay? And if you're on the mobile app, of course you would need to look on the bottom menu to find where it says Shapes, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a shape. I'm picking the square. And now I have a square on my canvas. Now I'm going to look and make sure what size my canvas is. And my canvas that I'm going to be working with is an 8x10 canvas. So this is, I'm going to unlock the little lock up here, and I'm going to change the width of my canvas is going to be 10. And the height of my canvas is going to be 8. Okay, so now I have the same size as my actual physical canvas, okay? And I can change this to white because I'm going to be working with a white canvas. Okay, that just helps me visually. So you're not going to cut this out. This is going to be just to help you with your sizing. You could do the same thing if you're going to make a card or anything else. Now Cricut does have some templates that you can use that if you're using like shirts or glasses or anything like that, you can use those shapes to help you create a size template, okay? But for just creating a regular rectangle canvas that you bought at the craft store, this is the easiest way to do it. Then you want to take your whatever image, so I'm going to use this Be Kind image, and I'm going to bring it forward, and I can do that just by right clicking and doing send to the front. You can also use a range up here in the top menu and be able to pull it, send to the front, move to the back, or anything like that. Now once I get this on here, I'm just going to arrange it so that I'm just pulling the little grab handle here and getting it to where I like it on the canvas. Now remember, these are wood framed canvases that are stretched around that frame, so there's like a 1-inch border on the inside of this canvas. Now we're not making a reverse canvas today. We're going to just put it on the front of a canvas. I'll show you how to make a reverse canvas in a different video. So for today, I just want to be able to size this so it looks good to me. Now of course I could take this image right now, it's 6.437 by 5.772, and you know, I could measure it to the 9th degree here if I wanted to and change the size of it. So you size it so it fits on your canvas the orientation that you want it. So you may decide that your canvas, you're going to use it vertically as opposed to horizontally. So you can just take the shape, same shape, it's still 8x10, it's just in a slightly different orientation, and then be able to move your image and size it accordingly to that. Okay, so depending upon what your image looks like, you'll decide whether or not you want to make a vertical or a horizontal image. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this back around just using those little grab handles. Those are super easy to use. And then I'm going to take my image. I just want to make sure that it's sized in the way that I want it. Okay, so once you have it sized to what you want to use, then I'm going to come over here to Make It. You have your Cricut machine turned on before you hit the Make It button, and then we're going to work with the iron-on. So I'm going to show you how to get your iron-on ready to be able to cut it out. Also, we're going to be weeding it, and then how do we apply it to our canvas using heat. And I've got some tips to make sure it's super easy for you to do this. Okay, so for today's project, I'm going to be working with the Cricut Everyday Iron-On, and it comes in a big variety of colors, and you can, use any, this applies for any type of iron-on we're going to be working on, okay? So you want to have a Cricut mat. I prefer to use just the blue grip mat, the light grip mat for when I'm working with the iron-on. And then your iron-on is a little bit tricky only because it has a shiny side to it. See how shiny and plasticky that side looks? This is your liner, okay? This is what they call the carrier sheet. It's already on here. You don't need to use any transfer tape. And all you have to do is flip this over, and then you see the dull side on the back, okay? The dull side is what goes facing up, and your liner side goes down against your mat when you're working with iron-on, okay? So we're just going to put that on here. I just lay it on with my fingers, make sure it's stuck on here really good, and now we're ready to cut our iron-on. Now we've already... Okay, now that we have our material on our mat, or iron-on, I showed you how to put it on the mat. Now we want to go to cut it out. So I'm back in Design Space. Now we're not going to be cutting out the white square because that was just our template, right? So you can come over here into your layers panel and just click the little eye next to it, and it's just going to hide that, okay? So I'm going to just hide it for right now. Then I'm going to hit the Make It button. And then for each of the layers, depending upon what it is you're making, you'll have different colors or layers. And each of these shapes will come in the, it's going to be facing up towards you, right? As if you were reading it or looking at the shape of the image. But when you use iron-on, we have to do it in the mirrored setting. So how you do that is that here is the N, because I'm doing kindness, right? Here's the N. Over here in the panel here where you're prepping your 4 mats, there is a mirror image. You just click on that, and now it's going to flip that for you. You will need to do that for all of your images that you're doing with the iron-on, okay? And it doesn't default it. You have to do it on each of the images, just like you watched me do it, for you to be able to cut these out. So instead of me worrying about making sure that I remember to do it on each image, before I ever start cutting, I go ahead and I go down all the files here where I know I'm going to be doing iron-on, and I go ahead and switch it to be in the on position. Okay, so everything's set for me. It makes it easy. I don't forget that way. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut out my iron-on. So we're going to pop over and get the iron-on, and then I'm going to show you how to weed this, and then we're going to work on our canvas. Okay, so once you've cut out all of your iron-on vinyl, you're just going to remove it from the mat. Okay, it's super easy to peel it up. I'm going to do that and push this off out of the way. And then what I want you to do is I always trim up around the edge. Now it's going to be hard to see on camera, but I can clearly see where the N is on my gold vinyl. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim, not super close to it, but close enough, because I want to preserve as much of the vinyl as I can for me to use on a different iron-on project. Okay, so once you've done that, then we're going to weed this part. Okay, so you can take your mat. I've already done some weeding here. You can take your mat and put it on your mat if you like to hold it in place. A lot of people prefer to do that. And then you want to take your weeding tool, and you're going to see your shape. Now, if you're having trouble seeing your shape, always refer back to your design file in Design Space. That may help you some. And you're just going to grab the very corner of it and start lifting it up. Now, unlike adhesive vinyl, this part is not sticky, okay? This doesn't get sticky or activated until we apply heat to it. So this is kind of like peeling plastic off of something, okay? The carrier sheet that's down here is very sticky. That's what's holding it in place. And you just want to peel it off. Just like that, okay? And then you'll just end up with a little pile of scraps that you can just throw away because you're not going to be able to use that part. And then then I'm just going to pull up my, let me get my scraper tool, that's a little easier. Okay, then you're going to have your image. Okay, now once you have your image, I like to go ahead and trim around my image some with my scissors. So I'm not getting super close to the image, but I am getting fairly close, because as we're going to lay this onto our canvas, we need to be able to get these letters pretty close to each other. And the best way to do that is to go ahead and trim it a little bit before we go to apply it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I've just trimmed it. There's the back side of it, and this is the sticky carrier sheet. Now, you do not use transfer tape with iron-on. This plastic coating on the top of it is the transfer tape, more or less, right? It's called the carrier sheet, and this is what we're going to be applying our heat on top of, and it protects our vinyl when we go to apply the heat, all right? So, and it holds your image together. So we're going to do this for all of the different shapes, whatever it is that you're using. Of course, I'm making this Be Kind canvas for you today, but you know, whatever it is you're going to do, then you'll just go ahead and do your weeding. Okay, so I've already weeded this one. Now don't forget to take out your centers of any letters or centers of any images that you need to. They're again referring to the Design Space cut file. And here again, I'm just going to trim. It doesn't have to be perfect. You guys can see exactly how fast I'm doing this. I'm not, you know, being too specific about it. I just want to get it close enough around that letter, just like that. Okay, so you'll do that for your shapes that you're going to put with the iron-on. If you're going to have an image that's going to be, you know, close together like this Be Kind sign is, and I lay them down with the liner side down when I put it on my craft mat, because it's sticky on the bottom and I don't want that getting stuck onto my craft mat. So there's another tip for you. Okay, so now that we have our material cut and ready, now we need to determine what heat setting and for how long do we need to use it. There's two ways to go about this. The first is if you are using a household iron, you will need to look up directions at help.cricut.com, and you would go into the materials settings. So there's a little box here, it says materials. Click on that. And down on the left hand corner here, there's gonna be some selections of different materials. So of course we're gonna look at the iron-on setting. And then even within iron-on, different applications for cutting and applying iron-on are different, right? So you would need to go in and pick whichever iron-on. Today we're using the everyday iron-on, so I'm gonna pick that. And then there's some basic information, which is all that I've already shown you basically, but you can scroll down, and down here you're going to start seeing where it says if you're using the Easy Press, you'll go to the interactive quick guide, which I'll show you here in a minute. And if you're using a household iron, it gives you specific directions on making sure it's on a cotton linen setting, which is generally your highest setting on your iron. Make sure that there's no steam, so make sure your steam is off. I also make sure that my water is out of my iron. Okay, and then you want to preheat your material. It tells you for how many seconds, it tells you how long to leave the iron on top of it, and so forth. So that's where you would find the information if you're using a household iron, and you would do it specific to each material type. Now if you're using a Cricut Easy Press, they made it super simple. So there's an interactive heat guide for us, and they have the 3 different types of Easy Presses. So the Easy Press Mini works differently than the other Easy Press. So if you would use a mini, you would pick that one. Or there's a Cricut Easy Press 2, and then there's the original Cricut Easy Press, which is the blue one. Okay, I'm using an Easy Press 2, so I'll just pick that one. And then you're going to see a drop down. So this drop down says transfer material. So we're going to click that, and you're going to see all the different iron-on types. You would go in and pick which iron-on type you're going to be using. I'm using everyday iron-on today, so that's what I'm going to pick. And then you pick your base material. The base material is what you're applying it to. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to look at what the different materials are, and I'm going to pick a cotton canvas. And then you have 2 more choices down here. One is if you're using the Cricut Easy Press mat underneath your project, and the other is if you're using a folded towel. Okay, so like a bath towel folded over 2 or 3 times. that to help protect your surface and also to make sure that you know, you don't burn anything, kind of thing. So I'm using the Easy Press mat, so I'm going to pick that, and then I'm going to say apply. Now what's going to pop up, it's going to tell you exactly you need to preheat your surface for 5 seconds. You need to use it at 340 degrees, and you're going to apply it at 30 seconds. Okay. Then it says light pressure, and then it says warm peel. So that'll give you all the basic information that you need to be able to set up your project. Now, if you're using a heat press, you're going to need to follow your manufacturer's directions based on the type of material and base material that you're using. Okay, Cricut doesn't have that listed on their site because every heat press is completely different. So follow your own manufacturer's directions on that. But that'll get us started. Let's continue.
Okay, so here is my 8x10 canvas that I'm going to be using. This just came from the craft store, and it's on a wood frame, and they're stapled on. It's stretched canvas on here. That's what we're using today. And I've found that the best thing to do is when you go to apply anything on a canvas, it has a little bit of give to it because of the way it's stretched on the canvas. So what I recommend, and it works for both iron-on and also if you're just putting regular vinyl, is find a book or a piece of board or something that fits within the back of your canvas, like so. Now all I've done is I found a book in my book stash, and then I covered it with some white butcher paper. You could just use a grocery bag, or a paper grocery bag or something, just so that you don't mess up when you're applying some heat. Since we're using heat transfer vinyl, it doesn't ruin your cover of your book. I can still read this book, but it was the perfect size to fit into the back of my canvas. Okay, so once I prep my book, now I have a nice, strong, sturdy surface when I flip my book over for me to be able to push down on it to make sure that my iron-on vinyl is sticking on here appropriately. So that is my #1 tip for making sure you have good success with ironing on or even doing adhesive vinyl onto a canvas. Make sure you have a nice firm surface. Now I have my Easy Press mat here underneath this just so I can protect my surface. Since I'm going to be applying heat, I want to always do that. My iron-on vinyl's all ready for me up here, and then I have my Cricut Easy Press, and this is the 6x7 because it's the perfect size to work on this type of a canvas. And I'm going to hit the power button, and then up here on the temperature gauge, we know that our handy dandy heat guide said to set it at 340. Now, and it'll be for 30 seconds. So we're good there. We're just going to wait till the head turns green, and then we'll be able to know that our Easy Press is ready for us to use. Now we just want to kind of figure out where are we putting our images. So you'll take whatever vinyl it is, whatever whatever your project is, but I'm just going to show you how I am going to lay this out. Okay. So you want to set it, so it's in the position that you want it in, and everything lines up. But that carrier sheet goes facing up, the plastic shiny side goes facing up. Once we get this on, and I have it the way that I want it onto my canvas, then we're going to apply the heat. This will be fine with the way this particular image is. If you're layering iron-on, you would put your first layer on and do it for half the amount of time that it says to do it. Then you would put your next layer on. Sometimes people put it for like 5 to 10 seconds, and then they put their next layer on. Depends upon how many layers you're layering. This is going to be all one single image, so we're not doing any layering. So I'm going to press this all at the same time. Now my Easy Press is set now. It's 340 for 30 seconds, and it is on the green head here. So all I need to do, we're going to do this in 2 steps here, and I'm going to turn my Easy Press this direction. And I'm going to just push the button and let it go ahead, and it's going to automatically count down for me. That's the great thing about using the Easy Press. It's pretty much foolproof. You look up the temperature and the time, and for the material that you're using. Anyway, so that light pressure is just me holding it with one hand. Okay, you see me holding it with one hand. I'm not applying too much pressure to it. All we're doing is we're letting the heat up the adhesive on the back of the iron-on so it sticks to the canvas. Okay, now I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to do the same thing on the other half of the canvas. And same thing, we're just going to let it count down to 30 seconds. Now, depending upon how big a canvas you're working with, you can certainly use some of the larger easy presses if you want. You can use your iron. If you're using your iron, you don't want to be moving it back and forth. You want to set it straight down, just like you saw me do with the easy press, and we lift it straight up. You don't want to be sliding it around. Okay, so now on our directions on our heat guide, it told us that this is a warm peel iron-on. Every iron-on is either a cool peel or a warm peel. So a cool peel means you want to let it completely cool off so that you don't feel any heat. A warm peel, you want to wait until you can touch this. Now this is super hot because we were at 340 degrees. That's pretty hot. So what you want to do is wait until you can put your hand on it, like this B, the BK over here is cooling off enough that I can put my hand on it without it feeling like it's burning my fingers. The D and the flower over here, that one still feels really hot to my fingers, so I don't want to peel anything off yet. If you peel off too soon, what's going to happen is that your vinyl is going to go ahead and lift off because it has not fully adhered to the back of your canvas. I'm going to just grab the edge here and slowly peel this back. And we are good. All right, so we're going to do that for all of these and peel this is the carrier sheet. We're just peeling that right off. Everything looks good. If you end up where you've got a spot or something where it looks like it didn't do it quite well enough for you, go ahead and apply a little bit of heat just to that part. Not the full 30 seconds, but just a few seconds. And we are good. And we have our Be Kind canvas. These make great, you can think of all kinds of things that you could put on these to decorate kids' rooms or your laundry room, or I'm putting this in my craft room. And they make great gifts. You can customize them to say whatever you want. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, and you will give putting some iron-on onto a canvas a try. Let me know if you have any other questions. I love doing tutorials for you, so if you have a tutorial in mind you'd love for me to do, please leave me a comment. Thanks so much.